These earpods are pretty clear.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, really gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and featured titan for today, I'm super excited, Matt Gouge, AKA Matt the Mortgage Guy. Matt, thanks so much for taking the time. It's an honor to have you.
Thanks for having me, Greg. I'm excited to be on. I'm excited that somebody considers me a titan.
Oh, you're there, my friend. You'll be official when we're all done, 100%. There's no doubt.
Sweet.
It's
Do I get a crown or anything?
One of the featured titans past had a little trophy, and it was a participation trophy, which I thought was kind of fun.
That is funny.
But you'll have the title internally, Matt. That's the most important thing.
I'll let people know.
So
yeah,
that's
for
it.
Sure.
But I'm super excited just to really share your story, who you are, what drives and motivates you, Matt, but really how you grew and scale your business and so many takeaways. From the mortgage side, I think that's crucially important. You being, top 1% and really growing and scaling in what I consider a short period of time. It obviously speaks volumes about you as a man and a professional. So if you're ready, Matt, I just want to dive in and start going.
Yeah, I don't have to get ready. I stay ready.
All right. Love the enthusiasm.
So yeah, where do you want to start? You want to start from the very beginning, born, raised, all that stuff?
Yes. I want you to tell everybody just a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So a quick snapshot, born and raised Sacramento, California. And I actually still live in the same neighborhood I grew up in, which is cool on a ton of levels. Yep. When your kids go to the same elementary school you go to, they're at the same little league that you played in, all that stuff. It's kind of cool. And then you have buddies that you grew up in, and their kids are playing baseball with your kids, and at that same elementary school that you went to. Some of the same teachers even. Still in that same neighborhood, and went to public schools in Sacramento, and then went to Cal State University, Sacramento, to get my finance and Spanish degrees.
Love it.
While I was there, I did a little bit of study abroad, did Australia for a semester, studied Mexico for 3 semesters.
Wow.
So I think what happened is that, as much as I wanted to go away to college, I ended up staying in Sacramento. And so once I got 2 or 3 years of university under my belt, I thought to myself, gosh, I should have gone away. And the chance to still do that was to do some of the study abroad stuff. So
sure.
Cool experiences with that. And anybody who, may or might not be listening, they're personally thinking about it, or they have kids that are thinking about studying abroad, you have to do it. It's such a cool experience. And in California, at least, you pay your same tuition and you get all the same grants and financial aid you get at your home university to go study at some of the best universities around the world.
Wow.
That's a whole nother thing, but had really cool experiences there. Then when I got done with school, of course, I've got a finance degree. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, got all this business, brain type of stuff, but what best laid plans don't always work out. I ended up probably falling into what would be 9 years of managing a poker room.
Wow.
And so, I think my people skills helped me there, and it really was a fun job that I enjoyed quite a bit. And, coming out of school, an entry-level finance job wasn't going to pay as much or be nearly as much fun as managing a poker room. And I don't know, how much of the audience is familiar with the 03, 04, 05, those who were in or around poker. There was like a poker boom.
Wow.
A guy named Chris Moneymaker won the main event in Vegas. And he was just, a Joe Schmo that had won a seat online. And so this sparked a poker boom. So poker was super popular. The funny part looking back is all the real estate people that I'm around now that were doing really well in what was also a real estate boom were patrons of mine. And they were coming in and they were drinking and gambling and throwing all that money around they were making during the real estate boom. But I did that for 9 years. Okay. And then I realized I wasn't going to do that for the rest of my life. And, my skill set and what I enjoyed and liked was finance based. And so I thought maybe a job in finance would be a step. Went and worked for the state of California. Okay. And I've got to say this, probably a third of my clients in my mortgage business are state workers. So I'm not talking down on state workers.
Not at all.
It just wasn't for me.
Right.
And so I was thinking about this the other day because I've talked about my transition from the state to mortgage, but I haven't in the last 6 years really thought about that moment as much as I was just reflecting on it like the other day.
Yeah.
And so June of 2013, we had just had our second kid,
Okay.
and lovely, supportive wife who I'll give plenty of love to throughout the show because she's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Knew that I wasn't happy where I was at, and that, my entrepreneurial spirit and something else was calling, I think was
Okay.
what was happening at the state. And I was stuck doing finance and I was good at it, but it wasn't fulfilling me.
Sure.
And so being the sole breadwinner in the house and having two small kids, 4, and then my second son was only 3 months old.
Wow.
It was important that I had stable income and we had health coverage for the kids.
Sure.
But I was going out of my mind. And June 13th, 2013, I have the letter, the resignation letter.
Wow.
And for a number of reasons, it's cool to look back on. One of them being the huge leap from literally as stable as you can get income at the state,
for sure,
benefits, to 100% commission, nothing's guaranteed. Like that's a huge leap. And so kudos to my wife who kind of pushed me. All the doubt I had about, like, I don't know, maybe I should, stick this out for another year. She knew deep down that it just wasn't for me and I wasn't happy. And she just said, do it. We'll be fine. I know we'll be okay. And so in 2013 was when I took that leap. And now looking back on my mortgage business, remembering as I was training up in mortgage and getting started, I had to go back to that card room and say, hey, I know, being a huge optimist, I still know brand new in mortgage, I'm not going to create a ton of income these first 3 to 6 months as I'm getting licensed, learning it. So I had to work 2 or 3 nights a week at the card room, going back to managing that a few nights a week. So I've got buddies around the office that joke because they remember when it was 60 to 80. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. 60
to 80 hours a week in the mortgage business because I was hungry and I wanted to succeed. Also working at night. So what I would do was the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday when I worked the card room, work all day mortgage, all night, swing shift in the poker room. I'd come home at 2 a.m, get 4 hours of sleep, and then back up. I guess my oldest was 4.5 or so. And he asked one day, he said, Daddy, do you sleep at work? Because he didn't know I'm coming home at 2 a.m. and then leaving again at 5. Which I think later in life, he's going to appreciate the sacrifices that were made,
100%.
So that was the transition. I wanted to dig into that story a little bit because I thought about it recently. I thought about how cool that is. So a huge leap into mortgage, 100% commission, but I knew deep down, I think my wife did, and that's why she pushed me. I'm not afraid of hard work. I've never been afraid of hard work. Kudos to my dad who drove an 18-wheeler for 20 plus years with over 1 million miles, accident free, ticket free, never missed a day of work. And he's proud of that. I can tell you that you're not affecting anyone else as a truck driver when you're sick. My dad went to work so sick, but was so, I don't know if it was stubbornness or work ethic or what you want to call it, but he just wanted to have perfect attendance.
Sure.
And so until that company moved, he did not miss a single day.
Wow.
He had, hospitalization for a bleeding ulcer, which was on his day off, and was back in his truck the next day. And, you get sick in 20 years. So he was sick.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that's the transition into mortgage. And I think by the summer of 14, I had officially cut the boats and said, I don't need to work the part-time job. I can do this. I know I can. And, here we are 5 years later, huge success, have 3 or 4 people on my team. And, success is measured in a bunch of different ways. We can look at transactions and loan volume, but I also look at, how I've been able to create through a bunch of hard work and coaching some life balance, where success is being at every jiu-jitsu practice, being able to help coach the kids' basketball team, being at all the Little League baseball games. And also having to have, you know, working out and really, are we frozen on Facebook?
I think we
Come
did
on,
first. I think we did for
technology.
a second. I think we did for a second. I think you might be back though. Matt, did I lose you? Matt, you there? I think I
Yes,
got you.
sir.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you back. I got you back. No, this is totally good. So we're
Okay,
still
so we did.
we
Facebook
did.
didn't even kick us off.
No. It's all good. Technology, everybody. This is why it's live stream. So, but Matt, I want to put you back on track to where you were at. So,
Okay.
really, obviously, huge examples from your upbringing through your father, and obviously huge support and inspiration through your wife, and everything that's going on, and you making that leap of faith and transition, I think is absolutely beautiful. So you really left off when you got into the business, and I guess I want to talk to you about why the mortgage industry, because I know you crested on finance, things like that, but why that, and then where you're at to today, I guess.
Okay. I think that the transition was me working in something that wasn't fulfilling, and I wasn't really satisfied where I was at.
Sure.
And I had enough friends and people in my network. That was one thing about working in the card room, was I had, plumbers, priests, accountants, judges, everybody came in and, came together around a poker table. So I had this huge network, and that included mortgage folks, real estate folks, and, even friends of mine from high school and whatnot
Mm-hmm.
were in the mortgage space, and they were either in it and had been in it, or were getting back into it after they had left it, in 08, 09 when it crashed, and just said, hey, listen, I'm going to start a branch of a mortgage business. You should think about doing that. You'd be really good at it. And, no ego involved here, but like, I'm good with people.
Sure.
Have always been a math nerd and
Mm-hmm.
always have enjoyed math and numbers and finance. I got the degree in finance just because it was what I was good at. I mean,
Sure.
I got A's in school. I got to do math with the second graders when I was in first grade. And so my skill sets matched what mortgage, origination on a certain level required.
Right.
And, looking back on it today, and I really believe this when I say it, I was built for mortgage. And I'm enjoying doing it because this is what I was built to do. And, it's exciting to talk about. And, you think about all the things that happen in life where it's could have gone this way or that way. I'm
Right.
so grateful. This is a great week, Thanksgiving week, to talk about gratitude. Yeah. I'm so grateful that I decided to when I did. And, I really feel like I'm good at it. I'm adding value. And so when I'm working with people and I'm telling agents or CPAs or financial advisors to send me business and we're going to do a good job, I feel like I believe that.
Sure.
As much as I possibly can, I'm like, we really do a good job. I enjoy doing this. I'm getting better at it every day. Send me your business. That certainly helps.
I love that. I agree with you, Matt, 100%. And anybody who's watching or listening to this right now, they can feel, or hopefully you can feel or hear the energy that's coming out of you, the positivity, and you wouldn't have hit the notes that you've already done and the percentile that you're in right now, Matt, without that hard work, determination, work ethic, and character that really is coming out of you and pouring out of you through the industry as a top professional. And I want to shift gears to the next question, because I think this is going to give people a little bit more background information into who you are, and more importantly, why you do what you do. So the next question is, what's your why, Matt? What motivates you? What drives you? What gets you excited every day and out of bed to do what you do to the level you do it at?
I think this is probably a pretty common answer to the why, but it's really family. And when I think about, what really feeds me and what really gives me a sense of why is immediate family, my wife and my two boys. Okay. Because as much as, I think about legacy sometimes, certain times this week more than any week, I think with Thanksgiving coming up and thinking about things we're grateful for, I think about, as my business grows, building a legacy and being remembered as, a guy who was a man of his word and all that stuff. That matters to me, but not nearly as much as, what my wife thinks about me and what my boys, you know, if I can emulate something that they're proud of and, you know, they become good men, then it'll all be worth it. And I
Wow.
think that that's something that, you know, has really impacted how I've not only done business, but how I've lived is, you know, you can tell your kids, you know, do this, do that, this is good, this is bad. They don't hear most of that. They emulate what you do. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that I've seen little examples of that really light me up when, you know, having them in kids clubs at gyms since they were 6 months old. They've been around people that care about health and fitness.
Sure.
That's good for them, you know,
Right.
and being around my mortgage business, other, you know, like-minded professionals that are family-oriented, driven. That's good stuff for them to be around.
Hmm.
And I mean, that stuff excites me as much as, you know, business stuff I'll get fired up about because I like that.
Right.
Family stuff will fire me up even more.
Wow. And to me, Matt, I know you say that that's kind of a common answer to that particular question, but to me, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching and listening to this, they would agree there's nothing more important than family. And the things that you said to set that example for your children and make sure that your wife is proud of you as well. And in that extent, you being able to make that happen is meaning you're doing everything right by the community, right by the industry, and right by your clients. Because if you weren't doing all that, then your family wouldn't know, they wouldn't be proud. And the whole thing kind of works as one. So I find that to be a beautiful why. And obviously, again, you wouldn't have hit the notes that you've already hit if that wasn't true. And the people who know, love, and respect you with your reputation, which is impeccable, it's already there, Matt. So I think that it's a really good window into that. And I know that there's so many different whys and they adjust, but I do want to shift gears onto this particular question. And this is a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
A lot of the viewers and subscribers of this particular series, they want to know what the Titans have done or are doing to grow and scale their business. And there's so much that you have to bring to the table, Matt, with knowledge and information and just understanding of the industry and growing and scaling. But if you could look back at your business thus far and pick or choose one or two things you added to your business or adjusted that took it from one level to the next, what's that look like for you? What advice would you give entrepreneurs, loan officers, real estate professionals, and anything?
Yeah, because I think it works for all of them. And so I want you to help me stay on track. I've got
For
two
sure.
different answers for this.
Love it.
And so keep me on track.
I'm here for you, man.
Because the second one, I don't want to forget about it, is the scaling piece, which I've done a lot more of the last 18 months. And I feel like I have value to add on what I've done on that. But first, I think what I did from the very beginning, which really helped me and is continuing to help me today, is looked at things long term and done a lot of things that are value add to anybody who's in my network, a potential referral partner, a potential client, without, you know, looking for immediate business. I knew at the time when you do the right thing, good things happen. But it's really hard. I think it's especially hard when somebody's brand new to be like, well, gosh, you know, I'm only doing one loan a month. I really need that second loan. I really need that third loan. They want to know what they can do now to get a loan in December or get a loan in January. For real estate agents, it's a closing. And, you know, for somebody who's selling insurance, it's insurance policies. So whatever the thing is, as much as the short-term ROI activities are appealing because you can see what it's returning, what I think has really helped me go from brand new to 150 transactions for 50 million this year is just a wide net of value. YouTube channel that's providing education to anybody who wants to listen. There's never a pitch. There's no ulterior motive. Here's mortgage education, stuff that the consumer should know, good information for the real estate agent, good information for everybody, you know, that. And, you know, speaking at the real estate association, you know, doing a bunch of different things that don't reap immediate reward has helped me. And of course, you know, there's going to be Bing ads and Google ads and some Facebook stuff, other stuff that brings in business. But if you're truly looking to make a career out of anything, you want to go wide with value add, because it's got, for me, the YouTube channel, which is a good example
Yeah.
of adding value and doing something educational that doesn't have an immediate reward.
Mhm.
Not only over time does it help build credibility and brand recognition. You know, I can go into a meeting I've never been to for a realtor association that might be, you know, one town over. And it's like, I've seen you somewhere. Oh, where do I know you? Oh, Matt, the mortgage guy.
Love
And
it.
that's invaluable. But also, if you're making 4, 5, 6, 8 videos a month, whatever you're doing,
Mhm.
you're looking at the new loan limits that are coming out in 2020. I'm going to sit and I'm going to read for 45 minutes. And before I get in front of a camera, I'm going to practice. And I'm going to go, okay, in 2020, the
Right.
new conventional loan limit is going to be 5, 10, 400. I think that's it coming out.
Okay.
I just saw the bulletin like
I love
45
it.
minutes ago. I already know there's a video, right? And
Right.
so I'm getting better. I'm sharpening my craft. And so
Mm.
there's value there.
Right.
And it's not like immediate value, but I know every time I talk to a real estate agent, I talk to, you know, somebody who could potentially refer clients, man, this guy Matt knows what he's talking about.
Mhm.
I've only been doing it 5.5 years, but every single day I'm doing stuff like that. I'm getting better.
Mm.
My brand recognition is getting broader and wider, and more people are knowing because I'm doing all that stuff. It's not, you know, click now to get pre-approved and then I
Right.
do a loan. So I think that's one piece of it. And one piece of advice that I think, you know, if you looked at my business and what I've done, that's something that I really feel was a win
Right.
or a
Okay.
home run as far as businesses go. And then the second half of that, I didn't want to forget
Yep.
because
Scaling. Yep.
in the last 2 years, I got to give a shout out to my buddy, Matty Atkinson.
Oh,
I
cool.
reached out to this guy who does coaching, does real estate investing, does a bunch of stuff. And he was in the real estate space when I reached out to him. And I said, hey, listen, I know you're not in mortgage. A lot of mortgage guys hire mortgage coaches.
Mhm.
I need a scaling coach. I need someone to help me because when you're doing anything, for me, it's mortgage, and for other folks, it's different. You know, it's real estate transactions. You can only do so much one person.
Right.
And not only that, I'm not good at all of it. I'm not good at some of the mechanics, and
Right.
some people will be like, that's not your highest and best use. But also what I've learned is it's not just that, it's the most efficient business has me doing the stuff I'm really good at, really efficient at.
Mhm.
Other people, you know, I was lucky in 2018 to run across a rock star
Hmm.
mechanics person who's, you know, my partner for all intents and purposes, who
Love it.
runs the production side of the team, all the organizational stuff that I'm terrible at. And when I
Right.
say terrible, I mean, I'll admit it. I'm not
Yeah.
good at everything.
Sure.
I'm good at shaking hands and making videos and talking people through scenarios, look at amortization schedules, all the math nerd stuff I like. But
Right.
when it comes to like, here's an automated email that goes out to everybody, and here's the
Mhm.
next step, and, you know, we move this person from, you know, submitted to, you know, appraisal ordered, that kind of stuff I'm just not good at. So,
Right.
you
Right.
know, shout out to Laura. She's amazing. And
Okay.
so back to my point though
Mhm.
was the scaling piece that Matty A was able to help me with. I think a lot of people struggle at this point where
Okay.
they've got to a certain amount. And what I've learned through talking to other loan officers,
Mhm.
and, you know, they're afraid to give up control. Like, you know, if somebody else is reaching out to my clients and chasing the bank statements and chasing this, you know, then my brand gets watered down. People really want to work with me, and I've got the relationship with Betty Joe, the realtor, and she
Mhm.
really wants to hear from me. They don't. And I've learned that through putting pieces in place where if you're referred to Matt, the mortgage guy and team, you're going to have an outstanding experience, a better experience than if I touched every single part.
Right. Well
And
said.
after 18 months of really refining that and daily getting better at it, I now believe it to where when I say it, you
Mhm.
know, you can hear that I believe that.
Sure.
And so, you know, that scaling piece is really important. And one of the biggest things I've done I wasn't good at
Okay.
is systems. And so I
Right.
think that, you know, back to the coaching from Matty A, he's really nailed in, like, you have to have systems. Somebody said it really well recently in something I was watching, where they said, something like round, and we're frozen again.
I think
Intermission.
I think it just froze.
You're kicking me off here.
Come on, internet. Technical difficulties, everybody. Please stay tuned. I think Matt's going to try to get right back on.
Oh, we're back.
Back on. See, we got the system down, Matt. We got the system. This is perfect.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so
I took like an intermission to have some aloe vera juice. Speaking
of systems, continue, because you were talking about systems directly.
Okay. Yeah. So apologies. I don't know. I think our internet, I don't have my iPad hardwired, but
it's tough.
It's a perfect example of any business. There's always going to be problems. You got to work through it. And
the show will go on, though, Matt. The important thing is the content is rich. You're really bringing it. And to me, I just want to kind of recap everybody if they got cut off and kind of gone through. So what I really enjoy, the fact of the matter is what you're talking about is obviously looking at it from the standpoint of, bringing on that coach. I love the fact that you looked at it, and not just internal to the mortgage industry, but really to build systems and scaling and understanding that, and being able to set yourself free of touching every single part of the transaction, because we can only be in so many places physically. And every top producer that I've interviewed and discussed and had deep conversations about their business with, that's really where it starts to skyrocket. They see that hockey stick effect when they're able to let go, focus on the things that they are truly, truly good at, as you said, but then put the pieces of the puzzle together so it's a big, big opportunity. And if you do it the right way, all of your staff and everybody who's with you is an extension of Matt, right? So they're not suffering because they're not touching you. Like you said, everybody's getting the same service just as if they were working with you or they're not. So I think that that's huge advice going through. But something I want to dig a little bit deeper into with that, Matt, for everybody out there is, when did you know it was the right time to bring that coach on into your life? And when did you kind of feel comfortable to say, okay, it's time for me to let go because there's only so much I can do?
I think, a lot of business change happens when there's pain.
Okay.
And I've heard it in a number of ways, but after beating your head against the wall and realizing like, I don't enjoy this part of it, man, this part was really like taking up more of my time than it should, that finally I decided. And, for me personally, I was in retail lending for about 4 years. The last year and a half, I've been a broker. And so during that transition, I had a good opportunity to kind of restructure my business and kind of look at it from a bird's eye level and be a business owner. How do I want this to run? It coincided with meeting Laura and adding her to the team. And when I was initially doing a bunch of the scaling, it was mid 2018, just me and Laura, and then a processor doing the processing. Shout out to Dave. I'm sitting in his office today because he's got better Wi-Fi supposedly.
Love it. As we go on.
So, I think that's it. And I think people have to get to the point where they try to hang on for so long. It's just like, I can do it all. I want to do it all. And to be completely honest, I know some people that still will do 10 loans a month and they're doing it all themselves.
Wow.
And it's possible if you're the right type of person that can be detail oriented and be the hunter who goes out and originates. But why?
Right.
Why would you want to do that? Because one, you can find somebody who's really good at it and that's their thing. And they're doing that probably better than you, even though people don't want to admit that. But then two, like, you've got stuff outside of mortgage you enjoy, I would think, family, hobbies, whatever it is, working 80, 90 hours a week is not sustainable, I don't think, for anybody.
It's not.
And the people will make excuse after excuse. I'm always available. My phone's always on. I work 90 hours a week. That's not something to be proud of. That means you're inefficient. Right. And, some people have to learn that the hard way. But, I've realized that, like, I can lead a really balanced life, have a ton of systems in place, have a great team, None of us are going to break our backs and work more than 50 hours a week. You know, I might go a little bit over because I'm having so much fun. I enjoy it. But you know, it's through systems where you really scale, where, you know, some months that I've had this year where I'm doing 21, 22 loans in a month, like would never be possible if I wasn't able to open my eyes up and say, okay, listen, I've got to have really clear systems in place. You get referred to us, you talk to Michelle. And I got to shout out Michelle because I shouted out Laura, and Michelle's really awesome too. You know, an extension of Matt, the mortgage guy. And she's another example of when you're looking to get pre-approved and you want to have a conversation, she's better to talk to. She's going to hold your hand a little bit more than I do.
Right.
You know, I might be super busy and I might care a lot about you, but I can't spend 19 minutes on the phone with you because I've got a really packed day. She's a fully licensed loan officer that's going to give you the time that you want and you deserve to really talk through your scenario, do a phone application if you can't figure out our online application. And so having those pieces in place is really, really important. And I'll try to summarize it just to give people who are listening kind of some value add takeaways.
That'd be great.
Is, you know, scaling and not doing everything is huge. And anybody who's had any amount of success will tell you have to do that. And the systems part of it has been huge for me because as I've dialed into different systems and found really efficient ways of doing it, I realized like, wow, that just got a lot better for us, a lot better for the client on their side, a lot better experience for the realtor, referral partner, whoever's sending the deal over. Like everybody wins, and we're spending 2 hours on that, those tasks versus 10, you know. And I'll give you a quick example. A loan officer who I was talking to, and I do a ton of loan officer on loan officer networking because the best place to learn best practices in mortgage is from other loan officers.
Agreed.
You know, podcasts and videos and all that stuff is great, but I probably network as much with loan officers as I do with other folks. And I never see them as competition because there's so much business to be had. But back to this little, you know, not a hack, but just a piece of software that's been huge, is he said, hey, have you heard of Flowify? I'm using Flowify. I had never heard of it. And essentially an online application that's easy to follow and, you know, send somebody the link. I had another one I was using that was kind of clunky and people had issues with it. I get feedback because I'm, you know, asking clients for like, what did you like? What did you not like? It was clunky. So our system pre-Flowify was, I would talk to somebody, get a feel for their scenario, kind of talk through what you're looking to purchase, what you currently pay in rent, kind of the goals and dreams combo. And then here's the online application. Here's the list of docs we need. Michelle on the pre-approval team will follow up with you. Any questions, let her know, let me know, we're happy to help. And what happened was, and where we found kind of a kink in the workflow, was somebody sends in their 2018 W-2, one pay stub, and 1 month of bank statements. And then Michelle says, hey, we need the 17 W-2s, we need the second month's of bank statements, and we also need a copy of the divorce decree. And it goes back and forth. Michelle's spending a lot of time, energy, and effort. Where there was a system, Flowify, that they fill out the online app. Based on how they fill out the app, it creates a loan stream or loan flow, whatever the heck it's called. Here's the docs we need. Use your same login you use for the application. Securely upload your docs. They upload 5 of the 7. It sends them a reminder. Thanks for sending that stuff in. Here's the 2 things we do need. Imagine like if Michelle's got 97 people that she's talked to in the last 3 months, and she's chasing one doc here, one doc there. I mean, that's a full-time job in and of itself. There's software for that. And so something like that, it's super cool because it's one example where you just took, I don't know, 50 man hours a month of that tedious task out of the equation. Now Michelle can spend more time creating loan scenarios, doing other stuff that's adding value to clients. And so those little hacks are what, you know, me and my team, and honestly, any high producing team is using these hacks in their business, and it's a high tech matched with high touch. Somebody said something like that somewhere.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's just how business is done 2019, 2020 and beyond.
Agreed.
All these technologies, the average first time home buyer, it's a young whippersnapper like you, 33 years old.
That's right.
You're comfortable with the tech, so I can send you the tech, and, we can do that. And it's getting more like that, where I might call you and say, hey, Greg, hopes and dreams call.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to bring your documents into the office, you can do that, or you can just upload them to the secure portal. And honestly, in my business, like 9 out of 10 people, like, give me the technology, let me interface with it.
Right.
And the value that you bring as a local loan officer is, I'm not calling a call center in Detroit, Michigan, and can't get a hold of somebody. I can call and text you and get answers. But as far as like most of the process, we can automatize that. And most people doing a mortgage nowadays, are comfortable with that.
Right.
People that aren't, I got people that come to my office and sit down face to face and do it the old fashioned way.
But that's okay though. I mean, the point is that you have the opportunity for both. And I think the newer schools of thoughts, and as time continues to go and more technology is involved through the transactions and securities there, that's where people are going. And, whether you're young or old, I think it's just ease of use. It's time is money. Right. I'd rather be with my family. I'd rather be doing other things than, spending time and working in these scenarios. If it can be done faster, easier, more secure, that's where most people are going. And I think that, you look at it in a beautiful way, Matt. And again, to just kind of close this particular portion out, you had mentioned obviously the systems and things along those lines. And I want to hopefully not throw you under the bus here, but if anybody has any questions or thought processes inside the business, Matt is just barely scratching the surface of his knowledge, information, and things. So please DM him, reach out to him on, Facebook.
Be happy to help.
YouTube, anything along those lines. And talking about YouTube, I want to make sure that everybody knows that, because you had mentioned about scaling and growing your business at the beginning and exposure short-term, but also long-term. Your YouTube channel is fantastic. So Matt, the Mortgage Guy, on YouTube is monstrous amounts of information. So I'll have links in the comments down below so everybody can kind of connect with Matt and really engage that way. But I do want to shift gears on this particular series and go into the next question, Matt. And this is the tricky part. This one ends up being the challenge question. So I always lead into it with every Titan that we all have challenges personally or professionally in our lives, right? Whether it's the past, now, or into the future. No one's exempt. But I'm a firm believer it's not so much what happens, but what we learn and how we respond and kind of take away and share that really, truly matters. And that's not downplaying pain or, hardships. But I think that's very important for everybody to know. So if there's a challenge that you dealt with in your life, Matt, personally or professionally, that you're willing to share with everybody that you overcame, became stronger because of it, what's that look like for you?
I'm gonna say it in I'm just gonna give a brief overview so that I don't get too emotional.
Sure.
But the gist of it is in 2011, spiritually, financially, physically, and monetarily bankrupt, like filed bankruptcy.
Wow. Okay.
And bless my wife for meeting a young, irresponsible idiot in my 20s. And she's a lot. She deserves a lot of the credit for seeing me through what was a really dark period.
Right.
And I can tell you that since October of 2011, I've made healthy life choices.
Love it.
I try to, not hide from that or run from that, because it's really made me into who I am. Like when I wake up and I'm grateful for, my health and my family and a thriving business, like I really feel that. There's times where I'll go on a run or something and I will, like I'm doing right now, get choked up because I'm that sincerely grateful just to be alive, let alone a thriving business, 2 beautiful, healthy kids, a wife that loves and supports me and that has been there, in my darkest days, to where things are today. So I think, it's probably testament to, and it comes up when I'm, dealing with people, whether, it's, an industry partner or something else. I think it's helped me on a human level really connect with people, because I'll talk to somebody who's, going through a divorce, or, they got into financial trouble and they've had to foreclose on a home, and they're like, "Hey, Matt," and they see Matt, the mortgage guy who's put together and a thriving business and everything's great. And they feel embarrassed to share with me that, they've had a bankruptcy, or, they did 6 months in jail, or, they're going through a divorce. And, I can relate to that. I'm not that far removed from being, broke, struggling, and, really on a total different path than what I am today. And so, I think what I would ultimately want to, convey to anybody who's, had any struggle at all is, it's never too late to rewrite the end. And I feel like in my case, I'm writing the last chapters are going to be the best chapters.
Yes.
And, it's a testament to, like, look at how drastically different my life is in really relatively short amount of time. Because 5 years in business, 8 years since my lowest point, like, it's not that long of a time. And, there's people that, might be 44 years old and they've made life choices where they're like, well, shit, I screwed up. I wish I would have done this when I was 21. Well, you can't wish back 23 years, but you can change 44 to 83. And you can live the heck out of those next 39. And so, grateful for all of it. To be completely honest, I look back at deep, dark, times in my life that are terrible. And I'm grateful because now, the grass is greener, the sun is brighter. I appreciate the heck out of everything. I appreciate the heck out of the hardest loans that caused me the most grief, because, I might not have been here if it hadn't been for the love and support of my wife to even see this shit loan I got to drag through the mud for 43 days, So, that's that. I'm pretty proud of myself for not getting too choked up, because, man, I tell you, sometimes I just let it go, because it's a real life, story of, somebody like me who looks like he's got it all together, bad choices, and was in a really bad spot in life.
But Matt, I mean, and I want to thank you first and foremost for actually sharing that, because it's not easy to do, to air your stuff out in front of everybody, especially a live audience like this. But what I want to really reiterate, and everybody's feeling and seeing, is the emotional tie behind that. I could feel that it's serious, and it was a real time for you going through, and that's very difficult. I can only imagine. There's been so many professionals sharing so many very personal things, but the takeaways from that, to me and to my mind, is the level of understanding and empathy to others who have been through other hardships and timeframes. So really connecting on another level with people. But then, as you said, really appreciating every aspect of your life and where you were to where you are now and where you continue to go. I'm a firm believer, and some people argue it either way, but I don't think it really matters where you're from. It matters where you're going. And we all have a past. We all have things that we deal with in tough times, and maybe we haven't even seen the worst of them yet. But the point is that your thought process of mentality, you said, look at this short period of time and how drastically different my life is. And to anybody out there who's watching or listening and going through anything like this, or just a tough time, just know that look at this professional like Matt, who has seen some really dark stuff and been through some really, really rough stuff, but had the support through his family and the positive mindset to just keep pushing and moving forward, and look what you've accomplished. So it's never too late. And I think that that's a beautiful message for everybody to see and hear, Matt. So I want to thank you again, because I appreciate being able to share it, man. Yeah. It's awesome. It truly is. It truly is. So, but I want to go into this. We went through the hard stuff, right? So that was the tricky question. So
Nailed it. Yeah.
we're done with that. That was so good. But I want to go to a softer question. This actually is one of my favorites. It's the travel back in time question. Now, you had mentioned a little bit of this in your challenge portion, as far as traveling back in time, and we can't do that and we can't change anything. And I think I'm a firm believer that everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly that we go through makes us who we are, as you already kind of precursed to in your last, answer. But if you did have a time machine and you could go back at any time frame, any age range, and give young Matt a piece of advice, whether it's personal, professional, would young Matt even listen to older Matt? But whether it was last year or 20 years ago, what would you say to your younger self?
You know what? It's funny that you say it in the way you said it, because when you said, would young Matt even listen?
Okay.
And I think it's a great point, because now I think back to like a time in my life where I think there was messages out there, and there was, hey, Matt, don't go down that path. You've got potential. And I honestly, I remember working for my buddy's dad, who had a tax service, and I did some accounting work for him. And I was always the math nerd. I was always good at that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was not a terrible kid, but I got in my fair share of trouble.
Sure.
And, partied, had fun, whatever you want to call it.
All of us, Matt. I think, all of us, though, right?
I mean, right. And so I think that they're looking back and trying to like picture those times of being like 21, 22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
I had people saying, listen, like, you're a really sharp young dude. Like, get your stuff together. You could do some really good things. And I think about, like, what if the lights on 31-year-old Matt, who started really making good decisions, feeding himself with good, positive stuff. What if I started that at 21?
Wow.
And the 39-year-old me was me at 29? Because already right now I feel like I'm just getting started, and I've got a ton of stuff left to do. But what if I had an extra 10 years? Sure. And that's what I would have told myself is, hey, listen, like, you can enjoy life and you can have fun in other ways that don't involve substances.
Sure.
That don't involve, making bad decisions that hurt other people. Things like that would probably be the stuff that I would reiterate to myself that was told to me by other people. I wasn't ready to listen. I think that's one of the things when I see other people, whether it's friends or family or whatnot, going through things, I realize that they've got to be ready to listen.
Well
I
said.
wasn't ready to listen to them. I wasn't ready to listen at 27 or 30. At 31, it was rock bottom, like listen or die. Then I was ready to listen.
Sure.
And so, that would be what I would say to myself is, like, I would probably try to get myself around more people that were inspiring me right now, where it's like, man, this guy's living a fun, exciting, cool life, doing really great stuff. And, it's on a different level than like the short-sighted, 21-year-old me probably just thought, like, I'm never getting old. I'm going to have fun while I'm young. And like you said, probably most of us,
pretty much, right?
You can have responsible fun, and you could also, do a lot of cool stuff by, doing it more the, quote unquote, right way.
Yeah. Well, and Matt, I love that answer to that particular question. And this question I really get excited about, because we can't go back and change ourselves in the past, but we can make action now and have, impact on the future. But there are so many people that are watching or listening to this right now, or will be over the next several months, and they might hear your words or see what you're saying, and it might hit them at the right place at the right time. And that's why that advice is beautiful, not just for yourself or myself or young Matt, but everybody out there who's watching or listening. I think that's fantastic. It really is good.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, I've got, cousins or, family members of my wife's where I love talking to a 17 or a 19 or a 21 and saying, listen, dude, Mark, you a smart dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take advice from somebody. Oh, and if you look at it, like we were just talking about, what my 21-year-old self would have listened to, like maybe it doesn't go through with everybody, but if you can get through to one or two and something clicks, then it'd be great. Avoid some of the pain and chaos that I went through.
I hear you, man. And I think everybody would like to do that. But again, in a part of it, it makes us who we are too. So it's something to think about and reflect on for everybody out there in their lives at their time frame. And I think that's great. So I do want to go to another crowd pleases this particular series, and we're almost wrapped up. We got a couple questions left, but this one is the feeding of the mind question. So a lot of the viewers, subscribers, they want to know what the Titans are feeding their minds, how they're growing intellectually and in the thought process through books you're reading or have read, podcasts you're listening to, influencers on social media. You already mentioned, hiring coaches, things like that. But Matt, how are you feeding your mind?
I'm feeding it constantly. And
Okay,
I think that's something that, once you start on getting some positive momentum in life and business in general, like I feel like I can't get enough.
Wow.
And, I think it starts small, where it's like, okay, I started listening to 15 minutes a day of podcast, or and now it's just like, I can't wait to walk outside of my office because I know I'm gonna be listening to a podcast. I can't wait to get in my car, and I've got an appointment that's 40 minutes away. That's great. I'll be able to listen to 40 of the 60-minute podcast, which I know is going to be packed full of gold.
Wow.
And so I love the knowledge that comes out of books. I'm not a great reader.
Sure.
So my Audible account, which uploads, I get 2 books per month to listen to. I'm constantly looking for recommendations, and most of them are self-development. Some are business. One I'm reading right now is called Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah.
And that one is really, really good because it just, it's cool. I just started it, so I don't have a lot of, stuff to talk about. But,
very cool.
One of the favorite quotes I have up in my office from the very start, I'll probably butcher it.
No, you're good. You're good.
I haven't looked at it, but it's Jim Rohn who said, rarely will your level of success outpace your level of self-improvement. Something like that. Oh,
wow. Yeah, sure.
Which basically says, and I think from the very beginning, I was like this, where like, I'm trying to improve as a human being. I'm trying to improve myself. In turn, my mortgage business is going to thrive. Right. And I think a lot of times, people get so focused on like, I need this specific skill because it's going to turn into dollars in this business. What most people would find more success in is like, hey, level up and be the best gosh darn human being you can be. And in turn, you're going to be better at a lot of stuff. Wow. You're going to be better at family. You're going to be better at business. And so back to your question about, what I'm feeding is podcasts, audiobooks, mostly self-development stuff because I like that stuff a lot. Yeah. And, I feel like I'm such a believer in all the self-development stuff because I've seen personal transformation. Right. To be completely honest, I'm a completely different human being than I was 10 years ago.
Right.
I'm proud to say that.
As you should be, though. I mean,
yeah. And it's one of those things where, anybody at any point can do the same thing. You want to get better at sewing, listen, read, take in sewing stuff. You'll get better at sewing. You want to get better at, being a father, being a husband. There's good information out there on that. And so, I really enjoy that. And I think somewhere out there, I read something about like the fulfillment you get from growth. Like that's why when you ever talk to somebody who's really like passionate about what they're doing and business, whatever, the thought of retiring like scares them. Right. Because like I'm the most alive when I'm growing. And it's a number of different ways. It's not just like I'm business minded, nothing else matters. If I'm growing and I can see tweaks in like, I just learned a little thing on how to become a better dad. And like, I'm doing this and this, and I've implemented this, like that's growth. Right. Growth is fulfilling. And I think that's what I'm most passionate about. It
Okay.
spills over into business, spills over into family, spills over into, real estate investing and hobbies and everything.
You know,
Just real quick, I was gonna say
oh yeah, yeah.
the other piece of content that I'm taking in a lot of is real estate investing, because that's like a passion and hobby, which leads to the financial security, freedom that's down the road for more of the fun family stuff.
Well, but that's just smart though too, and being involved in your business and what you do. I mean, investing in what you know and who you know, I think is crucially important. And
Yeah,
most people would agree that real estate is a fantastic investment done the right way. Concerning the right markets, but no one has a crystal ball when recessions or depressions or anything happens. But real estate, people need a place to live. So I think that there's a ton of merit into that. But my big takeaway, and hopefully the audience is really getting this too, Matt, is first of all, you're constantly learning. And again, you address that you consume this information very well via audio format. So whether it's podcasts, whether it's Audible, things like that, but you're consuming the information. But I want to say almost more importantly than you consuming it and making effort to listen to it is you're taking action upon it. So because we can listen to podcasts all day and go
true.
to, speeches and be around entrepreneurs and very inspirational people. But if we don't do anything with it, then it's almost a waste of time. So I
Yeah,
think that you're better off taking bits and pieces and chunks and then actually applying them to your life, whether it's personally or professionally, as you do, which I think is huge advice for anybody out there. Constantly learning, but consume it the way you can, but then apply it, and then see the results. I think it's
yeah,
great.
no, 100%. And what I'll even add to that
Yeah.
is like consume it, act on it, do it, and then try to teach it, because
Oof. Yeah.
because anybody knows that there's some saying somewhere that you really learn well by teaching others.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, if you've consumed all this real estate investing knowledge, and then I've gone out and acted and invested myself and done it, I'm learning as I'm listening, I'm learning more as I'm doing. But
Mm-hmm.
then if I've got clients who I'm actively engaged and teaching them how to do that, then then it's really getting ingrained.
Wow,
So
Matt. Yeah.
yeah,
Huh. I love that. That's so
I
great.
like that too. It just came out of the blue.
This is great. You mean
That's good.
that's an episode just by itself. I mean, people mindset, thought
Can
process,
we
the whole nine.
snip that? You got like a marketing team that can like snip that and like
We'll
put
have
some.
somebody snip it. We'll have somebody snip it.
You
It'd
gotta
be
have like you gotta have a Gary V like some camera guy or something. That's a guy I've followed for a long time, is Gary Vaynerchuk, and I
Oh
got to
yeah,
meet him last month, October, in Vegas. He was
love
at
it.
an event, and we got to do a little VIP meet and greet. That
Mhm.
guy's got some good stuff, man.
I agree. Every time I get to engage with Gary, I think he's obviously he's polarizing. So you either like him or you don't. And for me in particular, everybody has their different vibe and different delivery. Some are fast, some are slow, some are loud, some are quiet. At the end of the day, if you can weed through some of the F-bombs and things that are going along that way, but listen to the core message.
Yeah,
There's so much knowledge in that man, and there's just so much. So I'm a fan too, personally. I agree with you there, but I think
mm-hmm.
that there's always people that we should look at to emulate, to take ideas and not to look at them like, oh, I wouldn't do that. Let's not focus on the negative. Focus on what bits and pieces you can learn from everybody, as we kind of discussed earlier,
Yeah,
and what can we apply to our own lives to make us the greatest version of ourselves, as you said, right?
yeah.
Just be the
That's something
best.
real important. And just a quick piece of advice on that, because me
Yeah.
and you talked earlier
Mhm.
about how I can network with other loan officers, best practices, how to get better in my business. That's exactly what I think the most important part of improving on your business is looking at other folks and going, they do that well, I think that would work well for me in my business.
Mhm.
you know if 90% of what they're doing you don't agree with, fine, but
That's
that
okay.
10% you do that. And like, I was sitting up on a panel in Vegas last week, and people asked, and I said, listen, do you the best way you can do you.
Right.
Because I'm just going to be me, do business how I want to do it. I'm going to take bits and pieces and things I learned along the way from how other people do business, but ultimately I'm not going to be everyone's flavor.
It's
you
okay.
know some people are going to like me, love me, and do business with me, others aren't, and that's fine. But in the words of somebody out there, do you, boo.
Yeah. I love that, Matt. I mean, seriously, we can go on and on. This is huge information. I mean, the takeaways were super great and applicable for obviously anybody in the mortgage industry, but the real estate world, entrepreneurs, business professionals. Matt, this has been just great when it comes down to takeaways and getting to know you better, which is really, really fantastic. But only having 2 hiccups throughout the episode is pretty awesome. So again, everybody, we apologize for the internet slumps, but
hopefully, yeah, it's got to provide so much value that it's worth like 2 little,
it's just twice. It just happened, and they were less than 5 seconds. But I always apologize for that because it's technology. But Matt, I do want to wrap this whole thing up with the final question when it comes down to it, and it ends up being a quote or mantra that you live by that sums you up as a man, as a professional. What's that look like for you? What's that look like for Matt, the mortgage guy?
Well, I think I'm going to steal a little bit from Gary Vaynerchuk because I think he has said on numerous occasions, like, what I want people to say during my eulogy.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a really cool moment last week in my LaTip group where LaTip is like a networking group where, real estate agent, financial advisor, lawyers, 30 professionals get together, share business and whatnot. And, and so I'm in the group and we're sharing, rather than promote our own business, it's like, hey, you got to promote somebody else's business in the group. And somebody said, hey, I went and I talked to people in the real estate community around Sacramento and I asked them about Matt. And he came back with like, great guy, really knows his stuff, really cool guy. And he had 5 or 6 people that said similar things. And like, I think ultimately that's what I want to strive towards is knowing that, like I said, most importantly, wife and kids and immediate family, but then anybody who I came in contact with on this wonderful journey, which didn't end at 31, knock on, it continued, is that, really good guy. And that's just how I've been living my life. It's worked well for me. When I say live my life, it's probably more so in the last 8 than the first 31, but, no specific quote, but just living your life to where, you're making a positive impact on everybody who you come in contact with. And it makes it, in my opinion, more fun, more enjoyable. So that's it, I think. I didn't mean to get all mushy during this thing, but I guess this
Matt,
down.
That was really good. And again, showing who you are as a person and a professional, and showing those those intimate or softer portions, I think are important because we're all human.
We're good now.
Oh no! Did we almost make it through? Hold on, Matt, you there? I think we're still live, so Matt's feed is just going to cut right back off and right back on. I think he's going to jump on. So everybody, we're just about to wrap everything up, so please stay tuned. All right, let me check a few things here. Okay. Matt, you're back.
Yes, sir.
This is perfect. We're just about to finish up, so this is perfect.
Okay.
Now, and as far as what you said, I think you being honest and open and showing that you're a human, and again, doing everything that you've accomplished and with your reputation and just really, really that shining light and beacon into the real estate industry and the mortgage industry. These are the professionals that people need to look at, Matt. So again, it's been an honor to have you on the show, and the amount of information and knowledge has been impeccable. So I don't want to thank you again, but you are an official real estate titan, my friend. So
nice. I really appreciate you having me on, man. It was fun. And it's like, it's so cool to just have like a conversation for an hour, and it flows to where you're like, oh my gosh, it's already been an hour, we're already done with this thing. But
you're like, wait a minute. And I think that's cool. That's really the whole point, is really just to inspire people and motivate people. And again, give them tools and tactics. And Matt, you've done that and then some. So again, the honor was all mine, and hopefully everybody appreciates that. But I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, because that's in a few days. So it is a great time for everybody to reflect on their family and things that they're thankful for. So I'm thankful for everybody, the love and support, the time and attention, with Real Estate Titans. And again, if you like what we're doing here, don't forget to like the Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, and have a listen on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. We're live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, except for this upcoming Friday because it's right after Thanksgiving. Different Titan, a different location, and we'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
Awesome.